something that Nigerians, we always want to plan for this thing, but sometimes we always fall short. I was talking about gym etiquette. But before I even start, gym etiquette, you know, a lot of people set out to say they want to go to the gym and halfway or the first or second week to just fall back. Why do you think so?
Well, it just takes you to, you know, be sure that you're really motivated, ensure that you're on the right track. It's not easy, but if you put your mind to it, you will definitely do it.
All right, so gym etiquette refers to the rules of behavior and conduct that individuals should follow when working out in a gym or a fitness center. Now, here are some of the examples of gym etiquette. Re-rack your weight. Put away weight and equipment after use to avoid cluttering the gym floor and to show respect for others. Wipe down equipment. Yes, clean machines and equipment after use to prevent the spread of germs and sweat. That is also very essential. Now, respect personal space. Keep a safe distance from others and avoid interrupting their workout. I know there's been this thing on social media that the gym center or the gym or the fitness center is where single men and single women go to, you know, meet their better halves. I don't know how true that is, but that's what is spreading around. All right. Also, we have use headphones wisely. Keep volume low and use noise cancelling headphones to avoid disturbing others. Yes, very essential. Be mindful of strong perfumes, colognes. Avoid wearing strong scents that may cause discomfort or allergic reaction. Do people really wear perfumes to gym center? I feel
and you shouldn't go to the gym actually smelling bad, because you're even going to get all sweaty. So you need to at least use a body spray, deodorant, roll-on, and it's okay to take it along with you. So when you are done and you probably want to freshen up at the gym, if your house is quite a distance, you can always make use of it.
All right. Now, we still have more. Follow gym rules. Adhere to posted rules and guidelines such as hours of operation, dress code, and cell phone usage. Be considerate of others' workout. Avoid interrupting or joining someone else's workout without permission. Keep noise level down. Refrain from loud grunting, dropping weight, or making excessive noise. Respect equipment limits. Use equipment for its intended purpose and avoid overloading or damaging it. Be courteous to staff. Treat gym staff with respect and follow their instructions. Take turns. Share equipment and take turns with others, especially during peak hours. Also, keep the gym clean. Dispose of trash and keep the gym floor clear of clutter. Be aware of your surroundings, watch steps, avoid collisions, be mindful of your belongings, use gym bags and lockers, store personal items and in designated areas to keep the gym floor clear. I think this is where we should draw the curtains for etiquette this time around. But I mean, basically, it's just a set of guidelines as to what to do when you find yourself in a fitness center. I mean, just like I read, give people their personal space. Some people just want to come to the gym and not talk to anybody.
Yeah,
that's why you see them with the headphones on. So respect personal space, which has to do with what I was saying before, that people go there to hunt for girls and all that. So sometimes you might want to respect people's personal space. Always also remember that, you know, it's not only you that is going to use that equipment, so wipe everywhere clean. So I think that's all we have right now from etiquette. Let's go on a short break, and when we come back, of course, it's the newspaper review. Stay tuned.
Welcome back to the Breakfast Cafe, and of course this is the newspaper review segment where we take a look at stories making the rounds of the front pages of the papers. And this morning we kick off with the Vanguard newspaper. On the front page of the Vanguard newspaper we have this major caption that says, "Agony in Southeast as kidnappers lay siege to communities." There are a lot of riders to that story, a whole lot of them. You know, I'm seeing oil bunkers trigger insecurity in Oguta area, gunmen launch attacks from forest in Osu, Oguta, Awo Omama. You know, horror tales from kidnappers then has ignited fear in citizens. A lot of riders, and it just goes to, you know, reiterate the level of insecurity that we're experiencing as a country, not just in the southeast, in the north, even in the west. You know, a lot of parts, the east generally, north, south, west, there's a high level of insecurity, and it's very, very disturbing, I must say.
Well, you know, this has become our new reality, even though it's sad that it's our new reality. That I mean, it's the audacity for me that how these kidnappers just go, and we seem to not know. Well, no, let's not say we don't know. Is it that we just don't have that willpower to go after these kidnappers, or what is really going on? I know, yes, fine, there's been a reshuffle, the DSS and the NIA, so we hope that with the new shuffle, we should get some new changes or achievement. Hopefully.
Well, you get all the details on page 5. Away from that story, just above the nameplate, multiplicity of charges, others hindering exports from Nigeria. That's according to NSC and stakeholders. That's a page 19 read. Hashtag end bad governance. Federal government gets 17-point ultimatum. You get details on page 6 on the Vanguard newspaper. Insecurity, end the bloodshed. Christian Association of Nigeria and Sultan urge federal government. That's a page 9 read. Now we go to flooding. Death toll rises to 170, injured 2,000, and displaced 205. In regards to flooding, that's a high number, I must say. It's on page 10. Army to review agricultural policy over food security. That's coming from the COAS, Chief of Army Staff. You know, that's a page 19 read. Moving on to some political news. Labour Party National Working Committee rejects Governor Otti's move to convene elective NEC. That's a page 8 read. And lastly, Sports page 31 has this controversy great Labadia's appointment. You get all of the details on Sports page 31. And that's it on that story. We'll take a quick break now. We'll be back to analyze other papers.
Welcome back. It's still the newspaper review on High Impact Television. Don't forget you can also join the conversation by calling 081-2182-0154, which will be displayed on your screen. Let's quickly move on to the Daily Trust newspaper this morning. It greets us with a rather sad headline. Monkeypox spread to 19 states. Cases now 40. I mean, it's funny how this thing starts with very minimal figures and it skyrockets all of a sudden, and it shows how well prepared we are for this kind of cases.
If you even go to the streets to ask questions, you realize that a lot of people do not even know what monkeypox is in the first place. A lot of people do not have an understanding of monkeypox. So if we're trying to treat something and people that we are trying to treat do not even know what it is, how to prevent it, how to take care of themselves, precautionary measures they need to take, then there's a problem in terms of sensitization and orientation in the first place to start off with.
I think the moment I even heard bushmeat is associated, I stopped. I love bushmeat, but I've stopped eating bushmeat. Now, we have 3 writers to that story. It says, Lagos raises alarm over new variant from African nations. New variant. Federal government intensifies surveillance, and United States donates 10,000 vaccine doses to Nigeria. Well, kudos to the United States. Just above or below the masthead, we have Labour Party in fresh crisis as Ortiz summons emergency National Executive Council meeting. I'm sure when we get our guest, we'll shed more light on this. Now, NFF confirms German Labadia as Super Eagles coach. Here we go again, but fingers crossed.
Just yesterday, we took the headline that we're coachless.
Yes.
And this morning, the story has changed. That's encouraging, I must say. We hope that he
keep changing coaches. Why?
Well, I wish I had an answer to that question.
And most of these coaches, when they leave, they don't leave on good terms. They leave on very bad terms. But, well, fingers crossed. We hope maybe by next year's or when the next Olympic comes or World Cup, we would see changes. Now, moving on, IREC urges action against killings and abductions. Now, below that, we have federal government yet to pay us, I beg your pardon, let me take it again. Federal government yet to pay us promised wage awards. Pensioners cry out. I like this one. I like as much as they are coming out to say that this wage award we have not been paid. Now, below that, we have herders, farmers clash claims 5 lives in Niger. That's on page 3 of the Daily Trust newspaper. Kano government seeks Assembly's approval for 99 billion naira supplementary budget. This is quite huge.
What are you supplementing?
A supplementary budget running into 19. I mean, just add 1 billion naira.
And that's just for one state.
That's one state. And I'm sure this money is not going to come from their coffers.
Well,
maybe when our guest comes in, he might probably have some answers to some questions. All right, we have the last one. It says, no timeline yet for Orosanye report implementation. This is coming from the federal government. The Orosanye report has been long overdue. It should have been implemented, but, well, fingers crossed. But I think that's all we have right now coming from the Daily Trust newspaper.
We move very swiftly to the Guardian newspaper this morning. $48 per barrel production cost drowns 60% of Nigeria's oil earnings. There's an infographics, a breakdown of this, how much each production costs per barrel for some countries. You get all of the details on page 6. Guardian newspaper. 900 days on, CDHR tasks Sanwo-Olu on justice for late Bamishe. This conversation around Bamishe, I think that was the lady that got killed. BRT, there was a BRT conversation involving the driver and what have you, and 900 days on, that's over 2 years. We're talking about almost 3 years now.
Yes.
And there's been no justice. We've been talking about this and about the justice system that we operate, but that's very sad. It's on Metro page 8, Guardian newspaper. Telephone service quality may drop as telcos consider load shedding. That's page 16. Read, marginalization, good governance, or additional 18 states? That's a question. There you get details on analysis page 4. Residents of Rivers community flee over fresh oil speed. Very disturbing headline. Page 29, Guardian newspaper has the details. Food insecurity, federal government banks on dry season farming as flood devastates Northeast. Get all of the details on page 6. Arrest Nigerians, CSOs, unions urged to reject authoritarianism under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. That's on news page 3. This is a big headline we would love to go into with our guests. And lastly, on the two more stories. President Tinubu to meet Jinping over road rail project and others. That's on page 5. And on Panorama page 2, we see IMF hinges Nigeria's 3.1% economic growth outlook on stronger reforms. And that wraps it up on the front page of the Guardian newspaper this morning.
All right, and lastly, it is the Punch newspaper. On the Punch newspaper this morning, it says, flight of fancy, rather quite amusing. Governors slammed for wasting 160 billion naira on unviable airport. Just one rider to that story. Nasarawa, Yobe, and others beg federal government to take over airports shown by airlines. It's really quite sad. I remember when I was going for my youth service at Benue State, I had to fly to Abuja because I couldn't, then from Abuja you take road transport to Benue State. And you have other airports here, uncompleted ones. Well, when our guest comes in, maybe we would shed more light on that. Just beside the masthead, we have, with current hardship, electorate won't vote APC. This is, a strong claim coming from PDP chieftain. Well, we'll wait till 2027 to see if that's actually true.
We've seen cases like this play out over the years, and we say, with the current hardship, Nigerians will not want to go through this process, but eventually that's what we find. So
you can't dictate the minds of Nigerians. Rather amusing. Now, below that, we have INEC rules out PVC collection by proxy. I'm glad this is also ruled out. That's on page 14 of the Punch newspaper. Now, above the masthead here, we have another story here. Let me see if I can take it. It says here, Lagos Calabar highway demolition, 100 landowners team up for fresh legal war. It's so sad. Even before the whole destruction, bringing down of different beaches and all that, there was a fight, and to now get to this point whereby the federal government has said, we made a mistake. That was not what we're supposed to do. And now people are now calling for compensation, and there's still yet no compensation. It makes everything a whole lot messier than what it is before. Beside that, we have Abure Orti on collision course over Labour Party National Working Committee tenure. Beside that, we have external auditors to examine NNPC 2.6 trillion naira subsidy claim. Yes, this is long overdue. Let them audit NNPC, not just the subsidy claim, NNPC itself. Let it be audited. Let's know what it's coming in and going out. Now, below that, we have AMCON set to sell Ibadan Disco. Wow, that's quite huge.
I wonder why.
I wonder why. Now, beside that, we have Inspector General of Police vows to rescue 2,149 kidnapped victims.
That will come out. Actually, I'll be so glad if they are able to. Let's also know that that's not the exact figure of Nigerians that have been kidnapped. But if this happens,
2,000.
I think we are making progress in terms of fighting kidnapping.
Well, he might go down in history as the best Inspector General of Police ever. Well, beside that, we have the last headline. It says Lagos conduct red line rail test run today. That's on page 8 of the Punch newspaper. And I think that's all we have right now from the Punch newspaper. We're going to short break now. When we come back, we'll bring in our guest. Stay tuned. Welcome back to Studio Newspaper Review on High Impact Television, and joining us virtually is Dr. Wisdom Enang. Good morning. It's always refreshing to have you on the program.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
All right, let me take you up with the first report here. Kano government seeks Assembly's approval for 99 billion naira. I mean, if you add 1 billion naira to it, it might as well be 1 trillion naira. But my question is this actually justifiable for just one state?
You know, the thing is, so a number of questions, right? When I hear this sort of things, is the first thing, is it justifiable? That's the first thing. What is their current debt, profile looking like, or debt to income profile looking like? And what projects is this going to be put on? Is it going to be used? Because my biggest worry with, using it for infrastructure projects is who's going to pay for it? Are you just betting against the next, say, federal allocation, which you're not sure whether it's going to be a surplus of what you're earning or lower than what you're earning? Because it depends on the oil, sort of throughput that we have at the end of the day and the prevalent international oil price. So my worry is it worth it? Has someone done the math? And who ratifies this sort of loans? Because my understanding is that before you get loans of this sort, somebody must surety for it. So is the federal government suretying? Have they checked that that state is able to pay back? Because you do not want another embarrassment, just like the headlines of the Chinese seizing the Nigerian fleet simply because one state was owing it. So we should now know that one embarrassment for one state is actually an embarrassment for the whole nation, because when another party wants to act against the interest of the nation because of one state's infringement, they do not act say, well, who is it? Which state are you from? All they know is that we are all Nigerians, and that's what it's supposed to be. So yes, I don't think at this point in time, based on the economic fundamentals and realities, that it is a wise decision to be going for at the moment.
Right. You know, this conversation around this conversation we're having now is something that we've heard over time. But if we're going to look at our debts, Nigerians or the country at large taking debts for projects, sometimes they say when you're going to take a debt, it should be for something that, would yield more money so that you can make profits even when you pay off the debt. But most times we take debts and at the end of the day, it's not even used for what exactly it was gotten for. How exactly do we manage this situation and start to look more into generating revenue internally so that we can actually finance some of these things? Or is it that we cannot finance some of these projects from our internally generated revenue?
I mean, we can, but let me just answer your question. I'd like to give you a very, very, sort of honest answer. When you think about it, I think you have to walk backwards to the motive, and the motive will tell you what someone's trying to achieve. And I'll give you context, and I'm not trying to play out or tell you that this is an active scenario in this context. You see somebody and they have a 4-year administration, and they're thinking, okay, what do? We need money really quickly, and we need to get our money quick. Can we do set up a project, do all our maths, show them that we can pay them back with future earnings? So you're basically mortgaging the future, and then let's get a loan, award these projects to our proxies, let our proxies execute it, and then we mark up, let's say, about 200% on the normal value for the project, and then we get out the differential and put it in our pockets. To that person, that would make perfect sense why they should actually opt to go for a quick loan like that. But if the objective was to say, well, let's see how we can boost our internal revenue, let's see how we can lock up some of the areas where there are leakages, let's see how we can clean up the system, get the excess cash, and begin to sort of do an infrastructure development project over a period of time. And even if we cannot progress really, go as fast as we want, we'll have a blueprint that allows the next administration to pick up from there and continue. Then the motive will be quite different. So everything, I mean, that was just me putting out 2 generic scenarios. That's to show you that everything evolves around what is the purpose, what is the motive. And it's not, sometimes when you see the outcomes, you drill back to the motive, you find out that yes, it's always very consistent. There's that homogeneous consistency between the way they want to do things and their intentions at the end of the day. You will not be surprised.
All right, thank you very much. Let's move your thoughts to the Punch newspaper this morning, which says the external auditors to examine NNPC 2.6 trillion naira subsidy claim. I remember last year we were told that Nigeria, the subsidy removal had saved Nigeria about 1 trillion naira, and I lost track of the whole sum at this point, so we don't even know how much it is, but we are getting 2.6 trillion. But my first question is, with this external auditors coming into play, do you think that we will be able to get a thorough report, audit report of what is actually going on in the NNPC as regards to the subsidy claim? And secondly, what about auditing the entire NNPC? Do you think that we can actually get that done in this present administration?
Yeah, thank you. I mean, you're right. When it comes to auditing the NNPCs, there are several unknown unknowns and there are several known knowns. And the thing I'd like to say is, the big unknown is how much is Nigeria's real PMS consumption, because that has been one thing that it looks like. I mean, before, when we used to pay our subsidy payments to different people for importing it, it was it was so large a number that I was wondering if it's Nigeria times 4 that is consuming this amount. And now that subsidy is out but only paid to the NNPC, you've seen a different figure. So the question is, and then sometimes you see scarcity and we're wondering, were we under planning? The question is, what is the basis that will be used for the calculation? Because audit or not, there are some scams, I like to say, if you're trying to find those scams, that are not as black or white. They're sometimes very gray. And the gravishness, the scale of the gravishness would actually depend on the numbers. For example, the amount of consumption. So I think it is important that we audit it. But while I was speaking to the numbers for Nigeria's consumption, was that if we, then what is the confidence of the figures that you're going to be auditing? It's more like a procedural audit, less than and not really an audit to say this is a forensic audit. What why are we having this number? Why are we having this? So just to give you my thoughts, it's a cautious optimism, because I expect at the end of the day, procedural audit. Did you follow this process? Did you follow this process? Okay, why was this not done this way? Why was this not ratified at this point? This is what I expect. I don't think they will come out to say, oh, this number is not correct. We expect 3-point-something billion, trillion, or whatever, or 1-point-something trillion. I don't expect any of that to happen. I expect more of a procedural, audit.
Right. Dr. Wisdom Enang, let me take you up on a headline on the Vanguard newspaper. Very disturbing one. Agony in Southeast as kidnappers lay siege to communities. Now, we understand the fact that the conversation around insecurity, banditry, kidnapping has been going on for a very long time now. And even though we keep asking questions where our service chiefs, our security operatives, what is happening, every day it keeps getting worse. Now, the Vanguard newspaper has it that a lot of communities in the Southeast are unable to even live their lives normally because kidnapping on this particular headline, and how you think this situation can be managed, connecting it to the story on the Punch newspaper where the Inspector General of Police has vowed to rescue 2,149 kidnapped victims.
Thank you. It's really disturbing, and sometimes I kind of ask myself to say, what is the real goal? Are we trying to, put out a Nigeria that is going to be united and stand? Because insecurity is one of the things that can destabilize the country. And my biggest why people would seem to be bigger than the government, seem to be able to do things that will alter the lives of the normal people, and it's been going on for long. So I think I would only encourage the service chief, if they really want to do something about it, please. They should, because at the end of the day, we are hearing statistics, but sometimes it hits home, and you find out that these statistics to that amount. But I'm asking you, what informs the figure? Is that figure as a result of the a target? And if so, what is the full amount? So the very outfit will be having the same question. Is you have come out to say you have a target of XYZ people to rescue. What are you going to do? Not being able to integrate input from the society and people. So how are you going to achieve that? Because these kidnappers live somewhere. These kidnappers are able to work somewhere, and that's how they're functioning. So how are you able to get the people on board rather than see you as a nuisance? Because right now, the average person, when you see law enforcement, you think, please, I mean, these guys, why are they're going to disturb me? And rather than see that, but they see them as your friend. I'm not saying they're a nuisance, but I'm saying that that's the average way the person in the street sees it. And this average person is the one that is seeing the crime. How are you going to rebuild that confidence? How are you going to erase that, thoughts about, oh, if I see law enforcement, they'll most likely harass me. That's really what you need to do. And then build your own intelligence systems to achieve this. So let's go beyond the rhetoric of achieving this, but to how, what are you going to do, and then who are you going to work with?
All right, thank you very much. Before we go, let's quickly move your attention to the Punch newspaper. A very strong claim coming from a PDP chieftain. He says the electorate won't vote APC come 2027 as a result of the current hardship. Now, in your opinion, with everything that is going on, do you think the current hardship is enough to sway the minds of the electorate or Nigerians not to vote in APC come 2027?
All right. Thank you very much. I'm going to answer this with a scientific, illustration. There was a person that an experiment was done, and some people said, okay, which will you prefer? Would you prefer 3 minutes of acute pain, or 2 minutes of acute pain, and then maybe about a minute of very slow pain, but very, very light pain? And sorry, I take it back. An experiment was done, and someone said, okay, they did an experiment, split people into two. Would you prefer light pain for 1 minute and 2 minutes of acute pain, or would you prefer 2 minutes of acute pain and 1 minute of light pain? So yeah. So what happened is that at the end of the day, they gave them a form to fill to declare which one was better, and every one of them that tested both said they actually preferred the pain at the beginning and then less pain at the end, right? That is because the last thing in the human mind, the last thing that they feel always sticks in their brain. Okay? So what this guy is trying to say is not as straightforward, and I'm going to give you context. What if the APC-led government get us through these turbulent times, and suddenly a year before election, they make everything so easy that you're like, this is the El Dorado.
Yeah.
That sticks in technology. Everybody votes them. They say, well, we came here, we've gone through the turbulence, now it's steady, it's brilliant, now vote us again to continue that. I mean, what do you think is going to happen with my illustration? Everyone is going to vote based on the last psychology that's stuck in their brains. So I don't think what he's saying would hold a little bit of water, just based on how human psychology works.
Right. That's a very safe place to land there, Dr. Wisdom Enanga. And thank you so much for joining us on the newspaper review segment this morning and for sharing your thoughts with us. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Deeply appreciate. Do enjoy your morning.
And you too.
Yes, sir.
This last conversation with the analysis he gave, I still mentioned this, I think, on yesterday, when I was having a conversation with Vivian. We won't be so surprised if by 2026, from the beginning of 2026 down into 2027, we start to see things getting better. Why? We're getting very close to the election period. Campaigns will start by early 2026, like major campaigns, so they would start to put things into place. Palliatives will start rolling out. You'll be surprised that fuel price will come down, foodstuffs, the price of foodstuffs will come down, the Naira will probably be stabilized. We'll be surprised that so many things will start working out, and then, like you said, the minds of humans will start to say, okay, Now, these things are getting better. In the space of 1 year, I've enjoyed minimum wage has increased. You know, I can now live comfortably. Transportation is now okay. So why wouldn't I want to put in this new government? It's been a psychological thing that we've seen happen over the years, and sometimes it just takes us to know what exactly we want. If after the elections and we still vote in the same set of people, and we go back to status quo, and then you hear Nigerians crying again, lamenting again, you know.
Well, you know, it has always, experts have also said it, that sometimes these governors, when they come in, or politicians, when they are being elected, they pause all their projects and wait till the last year of their tenure and roll out these projects and make everything seem like, you know, with a magic wand they can make dreams come true. It's all, you know, a political stunt to get them back in. But, well, let's keep our fingers crossed. Just like our analyst said, things might even go well. They might even take us out of this turmoil by next year. I mean, I'm that positive about this. But
maybe not.
Well, I like to stay positive. I'm a sanguine. So this is where we'll wrap up the newspaper review right now. But stay tuned. We still have a whole lot more on the Breakfast Cafe. We'll be right back.
The future is now. Yes, I said it. Is there really a future? Or is it just a facade of hope created to make you less docile? What if what you call the future is every time you're alive the next second, every time you impact someone to live somewhere? What if the future is not so far a projection as you've always thought? What if the future is a developing script of your life and you are the living proof? What if the future is this very moment and you are living in it? The uncertainty of the future bedevils your very existence. Yet every day you wake up, shake up, and make up. Time is not on your side, except the wristwatch on your wrist by the side. Yet you stall and stand tall, knowing that to see the future, you must stay alive. No one dictates the future better than you. The future is yours to determine. Call the shots.
As a child, what is most important to you is love, warmth, acceptance, and security. But as you grow, there is a paradigm shift in the way you approach life. The interest you lose in some things, you pick in other things. Sometimes, the road is smooth. Other times, it is rough. Every step of the way comes with a new hurdle to scale. You win some, you lose some. You laugh hard, you cry hard, but at the end, you look back with a fulfilling smile and say, "What a ride." High Impact Television equips you with what you need every step of the way.
This season on The Muse. Retinue. We walked the halls of creativity.
You know, people always judge by appearances.
Traveled through books.
As I pay for my pounded yam and for riro with goat meat stew and one king size ogufe, now to chop the food remain.
We made art.
What?
danced with the muses.
Odyssey ends with EY.
Catch new episodes of The Muse on High Impact Television. Securing the future.
Welcome back. It's still the Breakfast Cafe on High Impact Television. Don't forget, we're also streaming on YouTube, Facebook, and on X at High Impact Studios. This is where we throw out a question. This is Views from the Net. We throw out a question and we get your opinion. You can also call us 081-2182-0154. The number would also be displayed on your screen. Today's topic is quite interesting because this is where Nigerians like to talk, you know. The question is, what are the signs that shows that he or she has lost interest in you? Let me start.
Don't start with me. I was waiting for you to say that. Let's start with you.
All right. Okay. Let me start. It's basically simple. Everything and anything she was doing when you felt she had interest in you, in the moment she stops, that's it. It's very, very simple. Once you notice that there's a particular thing she used to do and she has stopped for a consecutive number of a period, or maybe like for a month, you noticed it, she's always angry. Yes. You guys
she's always angry
with you. Any little thing you do.
But does that automatically translate to the fact that she has lost interest in you?
Well,
I don't
think two things.
Okay.
She might have lost interest in you, or she might have found interest in someone else.
I don't think so. I beg to differ. Now, I'm not saying that she probably has not lost interest in you. But if she has stopped doing something that she used to do when, in quotes, she had interest in you, and you realize that she doesn't do these things again, what about if it's coming from the angle, okay, the energy is not returned? Now, she could be doing these things, you are enjoying it, but are you actually doing the same? I used to say something. Sometimes it's okay to ask your partners, do you love the way I love you? Because you might be enjoying the way your partner loves you, but do you know if your partner is enjoying the way you love them? So automatically concluding that if she stops doing the things that she used to do, she has lost interest in you is wrong. You should actually sit down and think, did she stop this thing because she's always doing it and I don't return the energy? Or I'm also not doing what she loves, or what I used to do before too, I've stopped, so she wants to give you the same energy as well.
Love keeps no record of wrongs.
No, oh boy, so it's okay to be hurting her in as much as you are getting satisfied.
You know, when you really love someone, sometimes you forget their imperfections and you just continue.
Why are you not forgetting her imperfections? She has stopped doing the things she used to do. Make excuses for her and continue until she comes out to tell you, I'm no longer interested.
Well, from personal experience, if you stop doing the things, it's either of the two. And most likely, she has found interest in someone.
And then you also need to check yourself if you're also not hurting her by not doing the things you used to do as well. And she has probably spoken about it a couple of times, but as a coconut head, you chose not to listen. So
women have choices.
Well, let us know your thoughts. The question is, what are the signs that he or she has lost interest in you? 0812-182-0154 is the number to call. The first comment here is Norris from Delta State. And Norris has this to say: the silence is the #1 sign. Days go by, no communication. That's the beginning of the end. From that one, all other things come in.
Or someone else is taking her time and she's ignoring you.
See, you know, one thing I like to do is I like to balance these things up. Now, I'm not saying that there could be someone, there's probably no one else. There might be someone else taking her time. But before jumping into all of these conclusions, first off, I think it's important to do a self-evaluation and also have a conversation with this person. Has she been trying to get your time, but you're not giving it? They always say that a vacuum that is left empty would eventually be filled by something. So if she's trying to get your time and it's looking like you're not giving it, definitely she will get the time somewhere else.
So let's flip the table. So what if this was a guy this time around?
What if it was a guy that
stopped, giving the lady attention?
It applies to male and whatever I'm saying. I'm saying it in the female perspective because I'm talking to you as a guy. Doesn't mean that it doesn't apply to a woman as well if she notices the same thing. I don't think it works differently. If you also notice that your partner is not doing, as a woman, your partner is not doing what he used to do, you need to also ask yourself, am I returning the energy? What am I not doing right? And have a conversation. And if you realize that it's not working out, then fine.
All right, this is Femachi from Lagos. He says, conversation starts to look like interview. This one at Cardinal side.
How was your day? Fine. And yours? Good. Have you eaten? Yes, I have. And you? No, I've not. Oh, why? Nothing. I'm not hungry yet. Okay. You're good, Abby? Yes, I am.
But that's how talking stage starts.
Have a good day. But it's not talking stage now. It's somebody that you people have passed talking stage into a relationship. So you're now going back to talking stage.
Well,
but don't you think that, correct me if I'm wrong, almost every relationship gets to that point? Maybe once. At a point, it just looks like you guys may probably not have a fight or anything. The energy just drops a little.
Yes.
And it takes intentionality to kick it off again.
True.
So you might not, but when you now see that it's getting out of hand, for me, when I know that, okay, this person has lost interest, is probably we don't speak. When I say we don't speak, I'm a strong believer of we cannot be in a relationship and you tell me we should not talk every day. I've heard people say if I'm in a relationship, we don't have to talk every day. It doesn't work for me.
It doesn't make you clingy.
What is your definition of clingy? Talking to your partner every day is clingy?
How many hours?
You don't have to talk 5 hours every day. You don't have to even, it's not compulsory you even talk over the phone. But I must hear from you every day. Either via chat or via call, So people that say, I believe that you're one of the people that actually says if you're in a relationship, we don't have to speak every day. It doesn't cut it for me.
I said that purposely because I've been accused of being that.
So if we used to talk, we talk every day, and all of a sudden 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, you probably did not call. I've been calling, and then I'll just decide one day I won't call, and because I did not call, you did not call. 5 days, nobody's. I think that's it.
Really, 5 days of no communication.
Why would you say you're dating somebody or you're in a relationship with somebody or you're married to somebody, maybe you're not even, maybe you're in different states or what have you, and you're not talking 5 days, you've not heard from each other. What is that?
Work.
Interesting. This is Amaka. Amaka from Lagos has this to say. When someone loses interest in you, it can be really hurtful, but it's essential to recognize the signs and move on. I've seen it happen to my friend who was in a relationship with a guy who gradually stopped making time for her. Amaka, are you sure it's your friend? Because growing up, we used to hear that when people say, I need advice or something, my friend, that at the end of the day, is not usually the friend, but that's on a lighter note. So Amaka says,
I can feel where it's coming from. It really hurts when someone is the person you always look up, waking up in the morning and knowing fully well that there's a text message waiting for me from my love or from my partner or from my babe, and you open your phone and there's no text message, there's nothing, you try to call, there's no...
That's if you're dating a romantic person or if you're married to a romantic person.
Why shouldn't you be dating someone who's romantic?
It's not everybody that is romantic.
Wow.
It's not everybody that is romantic. Some people show their own side of romance in different ways.
Okay.
It might not be in the text message or what have you, but they will go to any length to make sure you're okay. So they might not be the ones to send you good morning text or good night text or I'm thinking about you or whatever. But if you need them to show up now, they would show up. If you need them to help you out with something, that's their own way of showing you that I'm romantic.
Well, but I know ladies also like words of affirmation, so you also
men don't like it.
Well, we like
men, you don't like words of affirmation.
I've been accused of being unromantic.
Even if they're unromantic, I think men actually like to hear it. Now they don't show it that this is getting to me or I like most of them don't show it, but they like to hear it. correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that men can actually call in to let us know. I think that men actually love to hear it. They just have a tough way of showing that they love this. They will act like they don't care, but it resonates in their head.
I love to hear it if it's genuine. If it's genuine, and I know it's genuine, yes. But sometimes, you know. Well, let's move on. We have Yinka from Abuja. Communication is key in any relationship. If someone is no longer making efforts to talk to you or share their life with you, it may be a sign they have lost interest. My brother Tunde went through this and it was tough for him.
She had to put our brother's name.
Yes.
So sorry, Tunde, that you had to go through this, you know.
Especially when you invested your time, energy in that person, and you know, you just see yourself slipping away. The communication becomes less, sometimes even quarrels, and
but you think it can be fixed?
Yes. Love is intentional.
Like, if someone starts losing interest in you, do you actually think it can be fixed?
Yes.
How?
You sit down, talk to the person. Obviously, like you said, you might be doing something wrong. Then try and go back to remember the things that used to excite this person, things you did, or the things the person did. But this time around, if the person is losing interest in you, then think of the things you did that made this person fall in love with you.
Have you met people that get bored easily?
Yes. They say love sometimes.
There are people I know that they get bored easily, and after a while, even their friends, they are tired of their friends. Well, they just want a new, like a change. And after a while too, they are tired of that. They want a change again. So how then do you manage a situation like that when you're dating somebody that gets bored easily, and at the slightest, maybe after 2-3 months or 6 months or 1 year, the person is just bored. You didn't fight, nothing. The person is just no longer interested and wants to find something more exciting.
Well, this might sound like a bad idea, but I would say set her off to the street. Let the street teach her some lesson. And
okay, I'm not with Olumide on that. Pretend like you didn't hear what Olumide just said, please. But let's move on. This is Queen, Able Queen from Great Yaba Tech. And Queen has this to say: I've learned that people can grow apart, and that's okay. My friend was in a relationship that fizzled out because they wanted different things in life. It's okay to say you're not interested anymore, but I beg, make your intentions known and quit all ill-mannered attitude, because I don't understand why I'll be getting different kinds of attitude. Tell me you are not in again and let the next date come in. Smiles. No time. Queen is saying no time. I also like to state that this doesn't only apply to romantic relationship. It doesn't only apply to lovers or husband and wife or what have you. Even in friendships, you know. I've had friendships, a particular one, very dear to my heart, like very, very dear to my heart. And somehow, conversation just started to go down the drain. From talking every day to... Now, note that this person is my friend, right? From talking every day to 2 days a week, to 3 days a week, to 2 days a week, to once, to just viewing each other's updates on social media. Now, there was no fight. It just felt like everybody just something, you know, sometimes there's this silent wave that just comes and it just changes everything. You can't put your hand on something that, okay, this is why this is happening. You just notice that there's really nothing exciting anymore. And nobody was willing to talk about it or fix it, and it just fizzled out.
Well, for me,
not a romantic relationship, friendship. So this doesn't only apply to relationships. Sometimes friends lose interest in each other. It can be fixed if both parties want it to be fixed.
Deliberately.
And if you don't want it to, it can just go down.
I read it somewhere just this morning. Funny enough, I read this thing just this morning that, you know, sometimes love might get boring, so you have to be intentional about it. You have to make that effort. Both parties have to make that effort to work towards it. So just like you said, sometimes it might get bored and all that, and it might just fizzle out. But 70% of the time, a partner loses interest in you. I can bet you there's someone else.
Well, whatever Olumide says is what he says. What I will just say is reiterate what Queen said. People can grow apart. The moment you understand that and accept that that is life. Now, people can grow apart doesn't mean that we encourage people that are married to break up or what have you. Things can be fixed. Even friendships can be fixed. It just means that you choose. It's a decision, you know. And when you choose to do it, it works out.
All right, let's take this one. Uche from Enugu. If someone is no longer supportive of your goals and dreams, it may be a sign they have lost interest. I experienced this, and it was a wake-up call for me not to give anyone the opportunity to hurt me or my feelings. Uche, thumbs up.
Right. So, you know, you said 70% of the time when someone loses interest in you, there's someone else. Maybe you're right, but just to put it out there again, sometimes it's just because it's not aligning anymore. You are going right, this person is going left. Just like I was telling someone the other day, for example, don't be in a relationship with somebody that wants to be a wife or a husband when you just want to be a baby mama or a baby daddy. And when the person is now talking towards that direction, you have a problem with it. You need to understand each other from the beginning. I don't want to be a wife, I don't want to be a wife, I don't want to be a husband, this is what I want to be. You should not now go and be dating somebody that actually wants to be a wife or a husband, because it would be a problem, and at the end of the day they would have to, you know, except one person changes their ideology for the other person. But if not, they'll fizzle out eventually. What am I trying to say? You need to understand whomever it is you're with. Not every time that someone else is in the picture. Sometimes it's just that your dreams don't align again. Your goals are not aligning. You're trying to correct the person on certain things and the person is not listening. And you're realizing that, why am I wasting time here? It's not as if there's any other person in the picture. It's just that I don't want to waste any more of my time. I just need to leave right now.
Now, the other 30% of what I was trying to say is 20% could be out of unclear goals. Just like you rightly said, I want to just have fun, vibes, and inshallah, you want a marriage or marriage proposal and all that. I know sometimes, sorry to say to the female gender, women like it when men lie, or when they tell them something that is not factual. They like when you when you sell them dreams. And a guy, for instance, I like this babe, I like her at all costs, I want to get her at all costs. Sometimes I might be willing to just, you know, tilt or tweak the truth for her.
Don't use English. Sometimes you lie. Yes. Don't use English about tilt the truth, or sometimes you lie to get that simple.
Yes, and sometimes the end justifies the means.
Wow.
By the time you get her to fall, by the time you guys start to fall in love, you might be able to now change.
You lied.
Yes, she realizes you lied. You might be able to change her perspective.
What foundation does that leave for you? What impression does that give you?
Well, it's not how you start, it's how you finish.
Please, let's move on. This is Bola from Ibadan. Bola says, trust your instinct. If you feel like someone is pulling away or no longer investing time to reevaluate and move on, trust your instinct and move on from a toxic relationship if something like this should come up, because it's the best thing to do.
I like this one. This is from Femi. Femi from Yabatek says, it is essential to prioritize self-care when dealing with a situation like this. Focus on yourself and come out stronger after a breakup. I love this.
Very
Words
true.
of affirmation.
It's not as though it will happen like magic. You'll break down.
You will break down.
But you'll come out stronger.
You will break down.
All right, this is Lola from Benin, and Lola says, don't take it personally. Sometimes people lose interest due to personal issues or growth. What should be done is to ask questions if the person is willing to talk. If not, just move on. Lola from Benin.
All right, this is Tyre. Tyre says, if someone is consistently cancelling plans and not making time for you, it may be a sign they have lost interest in you. I went through this. It was frustrating for me. Tyre from Mogun. Yes. To buttress what I said earlier on, 70% is always
It's always What is
Yes, now. I mean, if someone is always cancelling plans for you.
Right. Let's take the last comment. This is Benga from Oyo State, and Benga says, remember that you deserve someone who is genuinely interested in you. Hold on to this truth and you will find someone amazing. don't always force anything. If someone is giving you attitude or anything, just move on. Or if you're the type that asks questions, fine, do that. If not, move. Benga from. Or as much as this sounds very easy, it is not very easy, especially if you're someone you're very much in love with and you've invested a lot into the relationship, your time, your resources, your energy, your money. Yes, you've made a lot of sacrifices for that relationship. It's not so easy to just wake up and say, I'm going. Talk about it. If you now realize that the disadvantages outweigh the advantages, it's not advisable to stay. It's just better you leave and focus on yourself, your sanity, and finding someone that, you know, is in line with your goals.
Well, not to sound like the devil's advocate, but sometimes, you know, there are two ways to get out of this. Number one, it's the bad advice, and number two is the good advice. The bad advice is you can, get yourself occupied by other things. Meaning, if you know this person is fizzling out, this relationship is on its way to an end, start, meeting people, start going out with people, chatting with people, friends as friends.
Start going on dates. That's what you're trying to say.
As friends, to keep yourself occupied.
Is that the only way to keep yourself occupied? Why don't you enroll, take courses, learn a new skill?
You won't have time for that.
You think so? Why don't you focus on building yourself? I'm not saying you should not network or meet people, but before you start to think of another relationship, why not add a skill to yourself? Grow yourself, take more courses, you know. It could even be a fun skill. Probably learn how to bake, learn how to swim if you cannot swim. Do something exercising, eat more, but don't add weight, you know.
And the second one that I always like to do is, whenever you're in a relationship and it's, heading for the wind,
for destruction,
think about it. What is the worst thing that could happen? And be prepared for it, so that when it happens, you just walk over it.
Right.
Be prepared for it. What is the worst thing? Oh, the worst thing is she will just call me one day and break up with me. Then be prepared. So what are you going to do when that happens? You write it down, or you prepare for it. Then you just act on it. You don't have to wait for her to break up. You just act on it.
Right, absolutely. But that's a safe place to land on our Views from the Net segment. Thank you so much for staying tuned. We'll take a break. When we're back, the show continues with another interesting conversation. We'll be right back.
Arrant, arrant, arrant.
Welcome back. It's still the Breakfast Cafe on High Impact Television. This is where we discuss topical issues. Remember, you can also call us on 081-2182-0154. The topic for today is quite interesting. It is economic diversification, reducing dependence on a single industry or sector to promote economic resilience. Now, economic diversification refers to strategic process of expanding a variety of industries and sectors. Industry or sector, a country or region can build greater economic resilience, ensuring that its economy remains robust in the face of global market fluctuations, technological changes, or external occurrences. Also, however, when a country based its economic growth on solely on economical power, it tends to pose a barrier for economic growth. Now, for years, we have heard about countries and regions that heavily rely on single industry, whether it's oil, like Nigeria, tourism, or manufacturing. But what happens when the industry faces a downturn? Still Nigeria. That's where the economic diversification comes in. It's about spreading our economic activities across multiple industries, sectors, and reducing our reliance on just one, and in turn building a more resilient and stable economy. I have the pleasure of welcoming Ayo Emakiome to the program. Welcome. It's always refreshing to have you.
Thank you for having me. Good morning. Good morning, everyone.
Good morning. Thank you for joining us, Ayo Emakiome.
Thank you, Sarah. Good morning.
Good morning.
It's been a while.
Right.
All right. Now, just like I earlier read that, it's always good when an economy diversifies. So my first question is, why is economic diversification important for a country's long-term economic stability and resilience?
Okay, thank you for that question. Let me, in fact, I like your plenty of grammar. Are you okay? Let's bring it down in simple terms. It's like an economy should be looked at like a company. So when a company has only one source, let's say one client only that it does business with, it's a big risk. If that client gets sick, you as a company get sick. If anything happens, if they are facing any economic challenges, it will also affect you because they are your sole source of income and they are the only ones buying from you. So it's the same thing any economy that has only one source of revenue is facing. So in line with that, it is only logical that no economy should have only one source of revenue. No economy should only have one industry directing it, unless it's a strategic move by that government. But outside that, it shouldn't be. Interestingly, looking at it from the Nigerian angle, Nigeria is not anymore, it used to be a single economy nation, a single sector-driven nation. The only challenge now, which our government has not been able to deal with, is the fact that over 90% of our actual revenue, which in this case is FX, is from one sector. But outside that, if you check even the recent reports by the Bureau of Statistics, the NBS, the highest driving sectors now are not the oil and gas. Yes, oil and gas is still in the top 10, but it's not the number one. Number one is in the service sector, which contributed over 50% of our GDP growth. So yes, but it's just that now we need to strategically refocus so that we diversify, because at the end of the day, it's all about the money. And right now is one sector that is really giving us that money. So yes, diversification still comes in, but not 100% as diversification, but re-strategizing of the economy.
Right. Thank you for explaining that. I'd like to take you up on this one now, talking about the challenges now. What are some of the challenges that governments and businesses face when they are attempting to reduce dependence on a single industry?
the challenges are many. There's a myriad because every industry has its unique challenges, and then the economy itself has the challenges it poses on each industry. Looking at it from that angle now, we have the general challenge of the current state of inflation. Inflation is over 30%, going towards 35%. And what that does is that for every profit I make as a company, I am losing 33% of it before the end of the year. So that's a major challenge because my profit margin is not even up to 33% in the first place on the average for industries. Then I'm losing that much. That means no matter the volume of profitability I declare, by the end of the year, as in a year after, I'm running at a loss.
Yeah.
So that's a major challenge when it comes to inflation. Then another challenge is even the unstable economic policies. Today, government will say business friendliness. Tomorrow, they bring up an unfriendly business policy. And then another government will come and cancel everything entirely. And when there's a lot of unstable economic policies, businesses cannot plan.
Absolutely.
And so with inability to plan, then they cannot run the business effectively, because effective business running is long-term planning, and unstable economic policies does not allow for long-term planning. So that's another issue. Then of course, interest rates. Businesses usually grow either by they grow organically, that's internally by themselves, or they grow externally in terms of getting investments or getting loans. Now in Nigeria, the cheapest mode of getting money is by going to the bank for loans to expand your business, because of the state of the inflation in the economy, investors are not bringing in money. So looking for investment is a long cry. It's not that it's impossible, but it's a long cry. But banks today, their interest rate ranges from 30% to 36%. So it's not far from inflation. Because if I do my business, I make good profit, I make 25% profit, and then I pay 36% interest to the bank, who benefits and to whose advantage? I'm running at a loss. Another challenge is the infrastructure. The average SME today, over 40% of their cost goes to power. And then now with this new A-band thing of 500% increase in the cost of power, and even diesel price has gone up, automatically it is now over 40% of your cost. So if I've already paid 40 to 50% of my cost to power, what about all the other inputs to my business? In terms of labor, minimum wage have gone up, but economic indices have not gone up. And you expect me to pay 70,000 from 30,000. Is they good to my business or not? Then there is the issue of, okay, I'm a manufacturer, I produce. Okay, take it to the market. Cost of transport has gone up. And even it's not just the cost of transport, the roads are still, yes, government is trying, I have to give it to them in that sector in improving on road infrastructure, but it's not even 40% there yet, that good enough. So I still have to contend with bad roads, minus the insecurity issues. Insecurity is there. So then, even talking about security, no, let's look at the justice system. I do business with someone, the person messes up, and we go to court. Oh my dear, a snail is faster than the justice system.
That's
and they say justice delayed. They say justice delayed is justice denied. So there's a myriad of problems. Then even the manpower. What is the quality? Look at the quality of people coming out of our universities today. We need to improve on the standard of education, the standard of the lecturers, the standard of teaching, the curriculum, everything. Because the quality of graduates coming out of universities is reducing by the day. But you expect...
Yes, sir. Sorry to cut you short. Now, we've talked about a whole lot of things, factors impeding, economic diversification. But I also like to bring you to this particular angle. It's one thing for us to diversify. It's one thing to have a market readily available to embrace this economic diversification. Take, for instance, producing cars locally in Nigeria. If you look at the cost of getting a locally made car in Nigeria, it's almost if not more, or competing with imported cars. So my question now is, how do we make it, where do we get to that level point whereby we have a market, even if we're going to diversify in our economy, we have a market readily available. I mean, there's the fact that the Ajaokuta fact still, which has, I mean, nowhere near completion. We still have our refineries. And so how can the federal government step in to make sure that even if the entrepreneurs come in to diversify the economy, there's a market readily available and affordable for Nigerians?
Well, first of all, there is always a market. The issue is not an available market, is accessibility. And then using that your example of car manufacturers, there was a recent study, or should I say a video I came across that was talking about car manufacturers and acceptability in Nigeria. The issue with cars, number one, Nigerian-made cars are far cheaper than the imported ones. In fact, in comparison, the price comparison is with the fairly used ones that are brought in. But the interesting thing is, Nigerian-made cars are brand new, and the people are comparing the pricing with the fairly used ones, which means they are far cheaper than even the brand new ones. But what's the problem? Why are people not using them? The problem now is culture and acceptance. People believe, for example, growing up, my dream car was to have like a Mercedes, you get, or a Ferrari, and then you come now and you tell me I should buy, if I can use a name like an Innocent or a Nord, and I look at you, that what's wrong with this one? But you know what government needs to do now is try and support, because if you check in the history, even abroad, Ford Motor now in America, it takes the American government to support them. We're at the point where government needs to step up and step into its responsibility. For example, they should buy, yes, they started buying, but they should buy more and plenty of these locally made vehicles. They need to lead by example.
Right.
The president should order his official car from a made in Nigeria car company. They can do it. They have the technology. It's not rocket science. Let his car be made in Nigeria. And then everybody will say, oh, if the president can drive it, then I too can have it. If the state governor can do it, I too can have it. So it's a culture thing. And it will take the government partnering with these people to now start getting it. But in terms of pricing, yes, it is expensive, in quotes, because of the economic indices, okay? But within the country, it is affordable. And there is a market, a huge market out there for all these manufacturers. But the government needs to partner with them and make sure they help them to achieve what they want to achieve.
Okay, that's a very safe place to learn. You know, earlier you mentioned that, you know, imagine if the president is using a car that was manufactured locally. Probably that would help to boost the trust Nigerians have, because even Nigerians don't trust locally made products. Let's be real. Sometimes you go to the store and they tell you, you know what, this is made in Nigeria, this is made in, for example, China. But they prefer to buy what is made in China, which is a big problem because we don't even trust our products, right? But I would like to now take you up on this. Talking about economic diversification, how does this contribute to social and environmental sustainability in a climate like Nigeria?
Now, environmental sustainability, social sustainability. Let's start from social. If you buy made in Nigeria, for example, with over 200 million citizens in this country, what that means is that you are providing employment. You are improving the economy of a lot of families. And then with that too, for all these products that are made in Nigeria to hit the market, infrastructure will have to be provided. Power, light, roads, security. If all those are doing, then you and I will live in a more comfortable environment. Sarah, those calls that you get, you know, some people will see you from the village on TV, and the average belief there is that the lady on TV is a multi-billionaire, and they start calling you, Sister Alpha, help me, help me, help me. That would reduce because there are industries in those their villages that are providing economic enhancement to those people. So they will not notice whether you're on TV or not, or you now suddenly look like a billionaire. That's the social part. people will be more. And then outlook, when a man is hungry, anything that looks like food, they will eat, even if it's a rock.
Yeah.
But now, when a man is not hungry, he starts thinking developmental. A father would not be poisoning his son, or a son cutting off the mother's head in the name of trying to make money. But when he is okay, what he'll be thinking about is how to improve his society, how to improve his economy for the next person. But right now, so many people are hungry, evil is spreading, and that is not a socially beneficial matter. Why? Because people are hungry. On the economic part, which is what I've been talking about, people's pockets will be better, and social economic standing will be better, and the whole economy will benefit. So that's why it is so important to diversify the economy, because for every new industry that is opened, millions of people get empowered financially. So now the major industry we know of is oil and gas. People are getting jobs. The next major one we know of is agriculture, and then the next one after that is telecoms. But there are so many others outside IT that are there that can produce so much employment, so much financial empowerment, and improve the state of the economy, which is why diversification is so important.
All right, thank you very much. Now, 2 questions, if you can answer them as short as possible. The first question is, we still have the, if any government of any country have to go into diversification, especially Nigeria, let's take Nigeria as a case study. We know that everything has to do with anything here, corruption takes the day. So, and much of the reason why we've had uncompleted projects like the Ajaokuta, even our refinery and all that, you know, the government had with good ideas, good motives, they come out with good policies, but because of the implementation or bad implementation, it's so. How can we tackle corruption in this case? And secondly, now in light of this global economic trend, what sector should Nigeria, or do you think Nigeria can focus on to secure the future of their economy rather?
Okay, first of all, the oil flows from the top. To tackle economy, it has to start from up there. That's from the presidency all the way down. But corruption has been so enshrined in the system that for some people, they don't even know that they are committing corruption when they are doing it nowadays. That's how bad it is. But now it is up to you and I, because that's the new solution, to decide and act actually in an incorruptible manner, so that it spreads around and everybody realizes this is corruption and this is non-corruption. And so people start buying in as it keeps spreading like a disease. As for corruption. Okay, then what was your second question?
What sector should Nigeria focus on to secure the future?
Sector performance is, number one, is a holistic thing. There is no one sector. Because of the state of the country, you can't pick one, because when you pick one, you realize there are so many others hanging. You pick another one, and so it's what I expect the government to do now is redefinition. What do I mean? Many years ago, in the days of Awolowo, when I wasn't even born, they sat down and they said this was their vision of Nigeria and how they see the average Nigerian should be. And then they started setting up systems and structures to ensure that that is created. That is how we got free education. That's how we got our food baskets and our food pyramids, okay? So now it is time our leaders decide, number one, what are our values? Is our values, if I have 2 more minutes, let me quickly come in from this part where I'm going to. That is one. In the American government, they believe in liberty and freedom for everyone. You can achieve anything you want to achieve as an individual, which is why as a business, you can succeed as an entrepreneur, you can succeed as an individual. In UK, they believe in taking care of people, taking care, which is why it is very easy for you to succeed as an individual, as an employee. But it is difficult to, break through as a business person. So, because they've set up your life as an individual, that they take care of you all through your life till you die. Unlike America, where it is your call of how much you want to succeed, they have defined it. We are at a point in Nigeria where that is what needs to be done. The government should say, like those, if I use what Awolowo and co then said, Nnamdi Azikiwe and all our other leaders then, they said they see the values they believe in are the values of family, mother, father, children. And then they see the average Nigerian living by such standard where the average family is very comfortable and their basic needs are met, which includes education. Today, what is our leaders' values for us? What is our outlook? Which is why they now came up with industries. Then the focus was one on the transportation industries. We had the likes of Aramco and Co for car manufacturing and education. We have free education.
Makobe, I'm so sorry I have to cut you short. I wish we could borrow time, but we really have to go. It's exhausted our time. But thank you very much for sharing your thoughts this morning.
Thank you very much for having me. The time, as usual, is never enough, so I'm very grateful. Till next time, I wish you guys all the best.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. You know, it's just sad that we could not, you know, really wrap up the conversation with him, because this conversation around diversification is not something that can be exhausted in 20 minutes, to be fair enough. But I'm sure that our producer will look into it and will be able to touch on other areas that we could not touch on earlier. We'll take a break now. When we're back, we'll be coming in with our trending story for today. We'll be right back.
Was the ransom wey dey pay, how much?
Actually, sir, I don't know the ransom wey dey pay, sir.
And they don't tell you?
They don't tell me.
And you cost money?
Yes, they give money. Sir, that is the truth, sir. I don't know the ransom wey dey pay because I no get connection with.
Wetin be your share? What do you get?
They give me the money wey they give me as I did, they give me 1,000. That is $1,700, yes.
That's how much in Naira?
When I go change, they give me 1.8 million.
What do you use and do? Say the truth fast.
They gave 1.8 million. How come 1.7?
No, it's not $1,700.
Yes. $1,000 is 1 point now.
Yeah. That was the Abuki say money don't come down. Maybe they play me while you know, sir. I don't know.
Why you they do?
So how more? What do you use and do?
I pay some partly for my children's school fees, sir. And some for feeding before I put the money on for my account, sir.
How much was given to Laja?
$2,000. $2,000.
What did you take your money do?
Sir, I don't know if you own my own now.
Now when they catch you,
sir,
what do you think? How do you feel?
Sir, in fact,
say the truth, they look here.
I regret say I follow them shook up, even though my family member, all of them like this, they say why you know they follow them, they enter all this kind of thing. Before I did do this thing for police before now. They do agent for police for zone 2. So where to go make me go shook up for this kind of thing? Nobody say I don't even know, maybe now very sincere.
Welcome back. There's still the Breakfast Cafe. The video you just watched is a suspected kidnapper who just confessed to kidnapping someone, a particular person, and they raised about 42 million naira, which was later converted to dollars, amounting to about $30,000. And but it gets really, really quite interesting. He said, when asked what or why he did that, he said he spent the money on his children's school fees. So my question is, does the end actually justify the means?
Well, if we're going to be saying the end justifies the means, we'll keep seeing cases like this come up and people will say, oh, I was